Hello and welcome back to the Brick Den, and this video is the final update for Arkham Asylum. So at the end of this video you will see the MOC finished, and now that means a lot of progress has got to be made because it's a long way off finish at the moment. But right now you can see I'm just working on the rock work for the other two islands, which is using the plates similar to the one you saw in the last update, which can be quite a flimsy technique with the mixel joints, but I do like how it's turning out, and with all the textures on it, it does look very effective. Now this area is the high security area where all the superpowered villains will be contained. So for instance, Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze, Bane, and then there's another cell here as well. Now as you can see, Poison Ivy has escaped along with Mr. Freeze as well, but Bane is still in captivity. Also, all this rock work round here is very under detailed, and I will work on that for the next update. Then just moving this other section forward, this is the evidence room where all the current inmates' costumes and equipment and weapons are housed. I'm going to be working on the section above this next, which will be the original Arkham Asylum building. So then, moving on to exactly that. Now the aim of this building is to make something that looks quite gothic and clearly is the oldest or one of the oldest buildings on Arkham Island. Now it's going to be probably the largest building or the second largest, but it's definitely going to be the tallest because it's going to have quite a large tower. As you can see, it's also got some gargoyles as well to add to that gothic feel, and I'm not just going to do a grey colour scheme. I've also added some sand blue as well, just to add a nice little extra layer of detail and make it a little bit more colourful. I'm trying to make the walls as textured as possible, so including lots of different techniques to get the stonework that's been weathered over time. In areas where I may be planning to use plates or tiles to add to that wall texture, I've decided to conserve them for now because they may be more vital in other areas, and I am running quite low on parts, so it's very important I don't waste them in areas where they're not as necessary as others, such as texture. Now working on the roof, I've gone for a black colour scheme with the cheese slopes to add the texture here, and I've decided to have a helicopter that's crashed through part of the roof, and that's because next to this will be a helicopter landing pad on another building where Poison Ivy has created sort of a plant throne which has knocked the helicopter off and into the building, just to add another detail to Arkham that makes it look even more chaotic. So the building now is mainly finished except for the interior and those little bit of extra texture that I'll come to at the end. Now moving on to the hut, which is right at the front of Arkham. This similarly is another quite old building, and I'm also using an interesting technique for this to add some texture to the walls, and that is I'm using the ladder pieces that are very similar in form to just normal brackets, but you can slide in tiles and plates to add quite a nice wood cladding effect. Now for the roof of this, I'm also using a technique which I saw on a YouTube tutorial, which I will link down in the comments if you want to go and try and build the technique that I use for the roof that you just saw. Moving on to the part of the MOC which is going to have all the prison cells. Now I did do some earlier, but they are actually in the actual rock face underground. This is all the prison cells above ground in the actual building. Those prison cells that I did earlier are for the more superpowered beings. These ones above are perhaps older and just contain the more bog standard inmates that the asylum would have originally been designed to house. Now at this stage I'm not actually going to be building the prison cells because I need to concentrate on the exteriors and make sure I finish that to a high standard, because I am running low on parts, especially the dark bluish grey, the light bluish grey and the black. So I need to make sure I prioritise the exteriors, and I'll go back to the interiors with whatever I have left, but hopefully still try and make them detailed. But it's important to prioritise the exterior because that is what you're going to see most of the time. Now once I'd done that, I moved over to doing the texture on the rock faces, which I built way back in update 2, but now only getting to it because, as I said, I needed to make sure I concentrated on making sure I had a lot of specific parts for the buildings, but now I can go over and do the texturing. It was quite hard doing after the fact because a lot of the panels are held on in quite flimsy ways, so removing them and then putting them back on after the structure is already built up was quite challenging, but it was important to do, and I am happy with how the rock work worked out on this MOC, because it saved me a lot of parts and has allowed me to make the MOC the size that it is. I did especially have quite a lot of trouble with the rock work over on the island on the far right, but I did overcome it in the end. Then after that, I did actually go back to the building that I was working on a while ago and go over and do the interiors. So this is the where I was talking about a little bit earlier with the jail cells. Now the colour scheme for this part is the dark red, the light bluish grey and the black. I said in update 2, I believe, that every room I'm going to try and have a bit of a different colour scheme, so it's not all just light bluish grey, light bluish tiled floors, so they all look a little bit different. I've had the light blue, I've had the sand green, so I'm doing dark red in that room. Moving over to the next interior, which is inside the original Arkham Asylum building. Now this interior is going to be the medical ward for the asylum. There isn't too much room, so it's probably not going to be as large as it would be in reality. For the flooring, I'm carrying over the sand blue which we see on the outside. I really like this colour because it's muted, which is important to maintain the overall gothic look of the MOC. But inside I can have a few more brighter colours, which you can see I'm doing with the medical ward. Moving over to the outside, the MOC is pretty much done now. There's just a few more final things to do just to finish the MOC off. You can see I've also added the part with poison ivy, which I spoke about earlier at top of the prison cell building. I wanted to add parts like this, highlighting some of the supervillain superpowers, because it really adds another theatrical element to the MOC. I've also added a part with Mr. Freeze in a similar fashion on the main island of the MOC, which you should see a little bit later. At this current point, I'm just adding some more vegetation, lots of trees to the MOC, and also some shrubbery as well, and texturing the ground also. I'm also adding some extra lights to the MOC to the main island, because I can't add them to any of the other islands because I've only got one power pack and the other parts are modular. I'm just adding some lights outside to add another layer of detail to the MOC and really finish it off. So the MOC is now complete, and that does bring this update video to an end. Now I've made quite a lot more progress than I have done in the previous update. I just decided to keep on going really because I didn't want to go over the 4 updates for the series, just to keep the series a little bit more concise. But that does mean that the MOC is now complete, and the next video will be the MOC Showcase. I have done all the minifigure placing, all the interiors are done, and I've also added some more lights, which you would have seen in the time lapse. There are 3 that you can see outside now, but there are also some more in the interior, and all of that will be shown in the MOC Showcase, which will be coming out very, very soon. So that does bring this video to an end. I very much hope you did enjoy it, but please leave any feedback you might have in the comments section below. Also, definitely stay tuned for that MOC Showcase, it should be coming out very soon. But for now, don't forget to comment and like this video if you did enjoy it, and also subscribe so you don't miss the MOC Showcase. But most of all, thank you so much for watching.